How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing they're Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm itsasherz, and this is...
Tobias.
Tobias, how was your weekend?
Oh boy, that was my weekend. It was fantastic. So Emily's birthday was on Saturday. So, happy birthday, sweetheart. Even though I spent the whole day wishing her a happy birthday. And so we went to the farmer's market in Madison, which is always a good time. It was the first farmer's market and it was beautiful outside. And then we went to the Midwest Horse Fair. But at the farmer's market, I always forget about this. And I don't know why, because it's not like we don't go there all the time. But there is a creationist booth and it's always there. I don't have any idea why, because this is in Madison, Wisconsin, which, if you're not familiar with Madison, is a very sort of progressive town. Not the kind of place that you would think would support a lot of creationists, but they got a fucking booth at the farmer's market every single Saturday. And so I was just delighted to see that with the return of spring, so too had come back the creationists to the farmer's market. That's how you know. That's how you know that spring is here. Is, the flowers start blooming, it warms up, there are creationists at the farmer's market again. So that was great. I really enjoyed that. And then, the horse fair is a horse fair. I saw some dude riding a horse shooting balloons, literally on horseback, racing around this arena, just shooting balloons without a care in the world. Just cowboy shit. It was the best. So yeah, that was super, super fun. And that's basically what I did. I don't know how often people expect to hear paranormal stuff when we're talking about our weekends. If people are listening to this going does this fucking guy, does he do anything with the paranormal? Because all he ever talks about is tabletop role-playing games, going to the gun range with his buddy that I don't even fucking know, and stupid shit he does on the weekend, and none of it is ever paranormal. And the answer is yeah, sometimes, but it's not my whole life. But I do wonder if people ever question, why it just doesn't seem to come up that much. But anyway, for anybody concerned about that, I'm going to be starting on my next book soon, which will involve all kinds of research. So maybe I'll talk about that. Anyway, how was your weekend?
Oh man. It was good. I went to it's weird to say this after I say it was good. I went to my best friend's father's memorial service, which is not great when someone dies. However, it's a good excuse to get together and appreciate each other,
Sure.
And it was very nice because we don't really congregate anymore. And just, as a people, I'm sure you guys know I talk about this a lot. Having a social life has been more difficult than ever. So it was nice to get everybody together in one place, and it was good. It was a good service. So I enjoyed that as much as you can. And I know a couple of months back, I was talking about how I was kind of revisiting some Adult Swim shows and watching them. And I finally made it through the entirety of Metalocalypse, which, I'm sure people know about Metalocalypse. But if you don't, the greatest Adult Swim show of all time. They canceled it right mid-story because it does have a pretty a pretty intense storyline. And in 2023 came out with a movie, and I didn't realize that had happened, that they'd actually concluded the series. So I never finished it because that's the one thing I hate about shows. Like, I'm not a show watcher
Right.
because they always cancel it when I enjoy it. Right. So, uh, this time they did conclude it. I finished out the whole thing, and that's always bittersweet in and of itself. I hate that. You're like, okay, well, now it's over. Now what? Can I still like this? Which, yeah, of course you can. That's just silly and being nostalgic. But anyway, so I did that. I did a lot of that. And I agree with you. I think people do wonder a lot of what we're doing in the paranormal. And I don't talk about it a lot personally. You know what I mean? Like, so we've been doing, I'm sure you
We
guys
have this
know,
whole podcast and we still don't talk about
the
it a lot.
paranormal. Right. And we don't talk about it a lot. And I've just never really been good at self-promotion. Even on my own show, you guys actually come here to listen to me. And I still don't tell you what I do. And it's weird. But sometimes it's because it just doesn't go anywhere. I got a report this week about somebody who was camping at the Clifty Hill State Park or something like that in Indiana. And they reported seeing basically like an atmospheric beast, but like up close. So it was like a jellyfish type of creature that had weird glowing lights on the inside. And it's super crazy. And I'd love to tell you the whole story, but I mean, when it comes to the show, I'm going on record here and telling you guys what I think about stuff. And I don't like to do that until I feel like I've kind of thoroughly investigated a little bit. You know what I mean? So like, I haven't talked to this person yet directly. And maybe now I won't. I don't know. Maybe, they listen to the show and now they're going to run away and not talk to me about it ever again. But that happens a lot. You kind of get the initial report and then you don't hear from them again. So there's really nothing to share.
Right.
I mean,
well, no, like those end up being reports from the void for me when I don't hear back. I guess and I don't talk about that a lot either. I do still get reports and I do follow up on them. And I guess I don't talk about it until it's done. And so what done usually means is it's been written up in some way. So that could be like a regular article, could be a reports from the void, and then I'll share it in our news section. So I guess if anybody's wondering sort of day to day what my paranormal life looks like, it's usually working on those, like just various articles and investigations, pursuant to those articles. And that's really most of it. So, but yeah, we never talk about how the sausage gets made in this, we'll just have an article or something, or, some finished project, like a book, but we don't ever talk about anything that goes into that. So,
yeah. Right. I think a lot of people kind of disregard when you share your news, Tobias. It's always something from the Singular Fortean, so it's like, and that's yours.
Right.
And that kind of, I think it's, skipped over a little bit. But yeah, I mean, right. I want to go out now to this place in Indiana, and I want to go there and see this jellyfish being for myself. That sounds dope as fuck. But again, it's so outlandish. It's such a bizarre encounter that, I'd like to thoroughly investigate it as much as I can before I say anything about it. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We probably should talk about that more. I don't know.
It sounds cool until you find yourself in the movie Nope, at which point it's too late because you're just fucked. You're being digested by some atmospheric beast.
Yeah, well, that's true. So if you guys don't hear from me again, you know why. I'm in Indiana. So
if you just hear some screams coming out of seemingly nowhere, just screaming in the sky, that's me being slowly digested.
Because even at first, because first of all, it's an email, and that's odd for me. I don't usually get emails anymore. I used to, but I don't really advertise that now. And so it comes in as an email, and I'm like, okay, let me read this. And then the location sounded fake as fuck. I think it's Clifty Hills State Park or something. And I was like, that's not real. And it is. I Googled it is real. And I'm like, okay, maybe. And then they kind of went on to describe what they had seen. And I'm like, okay, I got to talk to this person. We got to talk about this. and they haven't responded back. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right.
Anyway, that was my weekend. That's what I did.
Very good. Excellent weekend.
So I don't have any traditional news this week. The news was hard this week, actually. It was, man, it kept edging me with all these super neat headlines. And it's funny because it happened before we started recording this, because Nate had brought up a headline that seemed cooler and weirder than what it was, but it was very regular. And so I'm going to go a little bit offbeat and tell you guys the personal news. You should join the On Wednesdays We Talk Weird official Facebook group, where you can engage with myself and Tobias sometimes. And
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Nate's probably going to stalk the page. I'm sure he'll be there too. And we can talk about this stuff. We can talk about the news. You guys can share the weird news there, so that way you don't have to come on here and hear me say that there's no weird news this week. Because let's be honest, there's always weird news every week. I just might not see it. So just saying, just look up On Wednesdays We Talk Weird on Facebook. It's there. You'll find it.
There you
That's my
go.
news.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's good news. You know, honestly, in that same vein, I don't have an article that I have written this week anyway. You know, here's the thing, honestly. Like if we're going to be completely honest about this, there isn't always really newsworthy stuff for me to cover. And so I see this trap that people fall into where they're all about churning out fucking content, you know, and I hate that word. You know, I'm a writer, you know, I'm not a contenter. I'm not a content creator, you know. No, I fucking write. And anyway, and there's not always something that fits the bill for me to write about. And so this trap that I see people fall into is they feel pressured to constantly be churning stuff out, churning out articles and things. And they just end up with a bunch of garbage. And it's not really worth covering. And it's definitely not news. And then you look at it and you just go, well, this is embarrassing. And I don't want to get to that point. And so I have, over the years, sort of made peace with myself where I'm like, look, if there's nothing Fortean interesting happening this week, I'm not going to force it. I'm just not going to. And so, you know, like that shit happens. And that was kind of this week. And, you know, honestly, like you said, I am not omniscient. Like, if there is stuff happening that I don't know about, obviously I don't fucking know about it. So any place where people would want to share things that I might actually see about what's going on, those might be great leads for a story or something similar. So I am all about that. The only things that I really wanted to share during our news segment is just a couple of appearances that I have coming up, actually. So mark these on your calendars if you want to hang out and get weird with me coming up. I've got a couple of appearances this summer. Now, I've got other stuff coming up as well, but these are the next two things. So I don't want to start talking about like August and September and October yet. Like, we got to focus on like June and July. Like, that's the immediate issue. So in June 26th through the 29th is the Haunted America Conference down in Alton, Illinois. Now, if you've never been there, this is one of the premier, if not probably, arguably, I would say the premier ghost conference event in the United States. It's got to be the oldest. This is put on by Troy Taylor. And if you haven't heard of Troy Taylor, definitely look him up. He's one of the most prolific writers. Excuse me. He's one of the most prolific writers in this field by far. You know, he's been doing this forever. He's a great researcher, writer, investigator. He covers a lot of paranormal topics, a lot of ghosts and hauntings. He also does a lot of true crime, and so you're really going to want to check him out. But he's been putting on this Haunted America conference for, God, I don't know, 25 plus years probably, and so it's really it's fine tuned at this point. So you'll definitely enjoy it if you're into this stuff. Now, the other place that I'm going to be, this is coming up in July, is the Illinois Paranormal Conference. So that is in Rockford, Illinois. And, I believe as a part of that event, we're going to be going to investigate the reputedly haunted Tinker Swiss Cottage as well. So if you've got any interest in checking that place out, and really just from a historical and architectural standpoint, it's a beautiful building, and it's super fun to just go and be able to go in there and look around. It is technically a museum though, so try not to touch anything or, fucking break anything. But yeah, like it's just great. I love going to Tinker Swiss. I will go any chance that I get. But yeah, definitely check that out as well. So yeah, July 12th is the Illinois Paranormal Conference. But yeah, those are the next two that I have coming up. So anybody who wants to, like I said, hang out and get weird, I'm going to be talking about Shadows of the Mothman. So that is to say, various strange phenomena that people have reported either alongside, in coordination with, or just what they perceive as related to the Mothman phenomenon. And if you know me, it's going to be mostly stuff that I have personally investigated. I like to lean on my own work as much as possible because I know it's not fake, and that just makes things a lot easier for me. So yeah, that's my news, if that counts.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
That's some good news. You got some good news going on. Yeah, no, I dig it. Another thing, join our Patreon, patreon.com/Wednesdays Talk. You can find some not necessarily private Mothman sightings, but unpublished Mothman sightings, right? I guess is the right word. You can find all of our updates over there. I'm getting ready to add some things over on Patreon too. Different features and things like that, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. One step at a time. I am one person, and even with Tobias, that only makes us two people with lives and jobs and families and friends and stuff. So bear with us.
Yes. Yeah. I have been continuously, incrementally, really adding the Unsolved Mysteries Mothman reports to Patreon. And I shoot for about 3 a week, sometimes. And, that results in like a 10 to 15 minute, audio file usually. Some weeks I get busy, and so maybe sometimes it's every other week, but there's a decent number on there now, and there are a lot more to go. So if you are interested in hearing the Mothman reports that were received directly by Unsolved Mysteries as a result of that episode airing that I was in, then you're going to want to check that out, because what I'm doing is I'm going and I'm just reading several of these reports and then adding them, as sort of little mini episodes. So, and a lot of it's interesting stuff, honestly. Some of it is, I don't know, probably bullshit, but some of it is fucking not, some of it is actually really, really interesting. And of course that's what we all live for, like if you're in this field, that some of it's probably bullshit, but some of it's not. And it's the not that we were most interested in. And that's what I'm trying to bring. So enjoy.
You know what? I completely forgot about this. Actually, so the stuff that I usually get reported, and I will go and put it over on the Patreon, and I totally forgot to tell you guys that I saw and took a video of a UFO this past week. Because I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's certainly unidentified to me, and it is posted on the Patreon. You can go look at it. I'll probably post it to social media too. But eventually, right, when I need content to push out there, because you have to play the game to win the prize when it comes to social media. So, so I was outside. I was in my car. I was actually coming home from like the grocery or something. And it was around 9 o'clock, and I had seen drones in the sky. And we all know what drones look like, right? They were just typical drones. It's completely dark outside, but, I'd kind of seen the drone, and it kind of went behind one of the buildings in my apartment complex, and I didn't really see it at first, so I turned my car back on and drove out of the complex to go see it. I saw it. It's a drone. I come back home and get out of my car, and then I just kind of take a moment to look around in the sky. I am looking around in the sky a lot for things, so I definitely have a confirmation bias there. And as I'm looking around the sky, I see a second drone, unrelated, and maybe not unrelated to the other one, but different from the other one because it went in a different direction. And then I kind of look off in the distance a little bit. And I was facing, roughly northeast or so. And there was what I thought initially was a star, and it was kind of twinkling a little extra, I thought. So I thought, I'm going to put that dirty girl on camera, and we'll see what happens. So I did. My camera has better eyes than I do, honestly. And so I was able to zoom in on it. And when I zoomed in on it, I could actually see that this, whatever it was, was like a ball in the sky. It was like one of the, a classic orb, and it's flashing between, red and green and white really, really quickly. And it didn't go anywhere. And I sat out there and I watched it for about, 10 to 12 minutes or so. Just seeing, because sometimes, it looked really high up, but sometimes it's not exactly really high up. It's just really far away. Right. And maybe movement might be weird. So you want to kind of watch weird lights in the sky a little bit to see if it's strange. And so I did, and it did not go anywhere. So I was like, well, I gotta take my groceries in the house. So I did. I took them in the house, and I went back outside. And when I went back outside, guess what? It was gone. So I don't know what it was. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it certainly is unidentified to me. I did go and try to look for different satellites and things in the area. Didn't find anything. But yeah, that's pretty cool. You can go see the video yourself on, patreon.com/Wednesdays Talk.
Well, I will have to definitely check that out. I am going to go ahead and say that it is probably aliens.
I don't think so, Tobias. I think it was, I know the answer, and it's obviously Bigfoot, so, come on.
Yes, we have finally found Bigfoot's fucking dick. It detached and was flying through the air.
And it's flashing colors.
Flashing colors. That's why you don't see it. You would think you would see it in every Bigfoot sighting if it was flashing colors, unless it detached and flew through the air instead, in which case it wouldn't even be present. So, of course, you didn't see it.
No, I am definitely slacking because I absolutely meant to, we have a little group chat, and I meant to send that video over in the group chat, and then I fucking didn't. And as we're sitting here talking about it, I could be sending it over in the group chat, and I'm going to do that right now and waste a little bit of time to chit chat while I'll let you watch it yourself, and you can comment on it. How about that? Lazy this week. What is going on? My God.
It's just, everybody's got spring fever. It's something in the air. I totally get
Something in the air. Well, here, obviously, it's like UFO gas or something. But there you go. You can watch it, and you can tell me what you think. It's very short. I've got a couple of clips of it, but you get the gist. I am
literally watching it right now.
Literally right now.
Yes.
Literally right then and there watching it.
Indeed. It doesn't look like it's moving. It looks like it
didn't move.
Stationary, yeah. The camera moves a little. Oh, Nate says he's seen this before. All right.
Like you've seen this video before, or you've seen things like this? Because I've certainly received videos like this before from other people. I've never
Sure.
recorded one myself.
And so, okay, when you said when you were watching it to the naked eye,
Mhm.
it looked like it was flashing different colors.
No, it just looks like, I mean, you've seen like a star and it's kind of twinkling, right? The atmosphere and whatnot kind of make it look like it's really, I mean, that's what it looked like to me. And I don't know. In my head, I was like, well, pull out your camera and zoom in into it. This is me. I'm zoomed in all the way. It is like
Oh, okay.
completely, like it's very far away, very high up in the sky. And so I couldn't see the flashing lights until I pulled out the camera and zoomed
Right.
into it. And I took a
Okay.
couple of pictures to see if like the color would change on the pictures, and it does. So I don't know
Right.
why
No,
that
okay.
happened.
Yeah, that's my bad. Yeah, that's a normal camera thing, actually. So this very easily could have been just a single bright stationary object in the sky. I don't know, a star or a planet or something. And when I'm not an expert on cameras. I lean on Emily heavily for this because she actually has a degree in photography, so she knows all of this stuff. But essentially, this is to do with the camera in your cell phone and how it records. And yeah, you can tell you're super zoomed in. It's very pixelated, which is going to happen. Like the file is clearly compressed, obviously, because you sent it to me via text. And that doesn't necessarily help, although I don't think it's really going to change a lot in this case. So yeah, I mean, honestly, those colors and stuff very easily just could be a result of your cell phone camera. And it's just a relatively mundane, normal object in the sky, nothing to worry about. So sorry to be a huge bummer, but that's probably what's going on.
But why did it disappear?
I don't know. When did it disappear?
I mean, within like,
that far.
it was probably within like a half an hour after. So I was sitting out there, I was watching it for about, like I said, probably 12 minutes or so. And I came back, I came in the house, brought my groceries in, put them all away, went to the bathroom, said hi to my kid, whatever, did all that. Was thinking about it, and was like, let me go check this out again. And I went back outside and it wasn't there anymore.
My guess would be that it had sunk close enough to the horizon. Doesn't have to go all the way down, you know. It
Like,
just
that looked
has to
weird.
get close enough to where it's not visible anymore. It probably just moved in the sky.
I mean, that's what Bigfoot do, so, you know, I guess you're right.
Classic fucking Bigfoot. I don't know. I feel like I'm being a huge bummer right now, but that is the likeliest explanation. Nate's?
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Sighting sounds way more interesting, but he's telling it to us through the producer chat. So,
well, read it off. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Okay. So this is what Nate's saying. He's saying he's seen this light before and he watched it for like 5 minutes. He said his sighting was pulsating between colors. This was back in the summer of 2020. He walked up the street to get a better view, and then when he looked again, it was gone. He didn't get a video. He's always called it a real UFO in that he knew the sky well enough and didn't know what it was, but he also didn't think it was an alien. He does think it could have been Bigfoot. So, we're getting towards a consensus, we're getting towards a consensus on this. If I could fucking talk.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe it was Bigfoot. Maybe it was Bigfoot in a UFO, which is my favorite Bigfoot. I love UFO Bigfoot more than anything. But yeah, Nate sounds like maybe he was seeing it pulsate with the naked eye, which that's one of the things I always ask people when they send me a video. I go, did you see this with like with your naked eye? And did it look the same to you as it did in the recording that you sent me? And if the answer is no, then it's usually something going on with the camera. And it's not like the camera is malfunctioning. It's working as intended. It was just never meant to record fucking stars and planets and shit in the sky. It's not going to be good at that.
Away. Yeah. Well, so I am legally blind. I mean, so what I saw in the sky doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't changing colors. To me, it looks like a blob, and it looked weird enough to where I wanted to pull out the camera and look at it. But I'm not saying that I saw it change colors, because I didn't. It was blurry.
Sure. Okay. Well, who knows? I mean,
I don't know.
At this point, we have not successfully identified it. We would need to know a lot of information, like what was supposed to be in the sky at that time, to actually have any idea.
Time, yeah.
But yeah. So for right now, it's unidentified. Yeah.
Well, no, I thought we all agreed that it's Bigfoot.
It could be Bigfoot.
I'm just saying. I know that we've now talked at length about a video that you guys have not seen, and you can't see unless you go subscribe to the Patreon. So
now that's what I call podcasting.
What do you guys think? Patreon members, do you think that do you think it's Bigfoot? Do you think it's aliens? Do you think it's just the trick of the camera? Because it very well could be. I was telling somebody else about it that night while it's happening. They're like, why do you think the drones are out there? Do you think the drones are tracking it? I'm like, no, I don't think that. No, not at all. I just think people like to fly drones because I live in a rich neighborhood and they own them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't fly drones.
Right. I mean, it's that's pretty normal around here, drones. Anyway, so that's my story. So there's some and I almost forgot to tell. I mean, on my own paranormal podcast, forgot to tell you guys about that. Isn't that crazy?
It is. Matt, honestly, I feel like we take this stuff for granted to the point where it doesn't even occur to us to mention it a lot of the time. So I get it.
Well, I could accept some weird video artifacts for sure. I've seen it enough. We see it all the time. Lens flares are pretty cool, right? They do look really paranormal, but they're just lens flares.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I appreciate your perspective on it. All right.
You got it.
Well, let's talk about something else now. How about that?
Yes.
Tobias, what's your history with the Owlman?
Oh boy, like if you're talking Cornish Owlman specifically, it is something I have been aware of for a very long time, but have had very little personal experience with because I have never been to England to experience it for myself. If you want good old fashioned American Owlman, well, I have taken a lot of giant owl and owlman sightings and reported on way more. So I don't know. Are the two phenomena related? I think it's possible, and I'm certain that we will cover it at some point during this episode.
I think you must be psychic. Wow. To make a bold statement like that. I knew it. Well, actually, we're not. It's not the Cornish Owlman. It's the fucking. We're talking about the DC comic character, the Owlman, right? Why would we talk about a weird owl person thing? I mean, come on, that's not what the show's about.
He is way cooler. Yeah.
I don't know. The Owlman is pretty sexy sometimes. I'm shocked by that. These winged humanoids, man, we just love to sex them up. We really do, and I'm here for it.
It's true.
The Cornish Owlman is definitely something that you'll, or the Owlman of Mawnan, sometimes as it's called, or just the Owlman if you prefer. Of course, is a winged humanoid type creature. It's the size of a man, looks like an owl. It's got red eyes. I don't know if that sounds familiar to any of you. Probably not. But these winged humanoid sightings, it's kind of our specialty, right? That's kind of what we do. So you can't get into Mothman research without eventually running into this particular creature, being, guy, animal, whatever you want to call it. Right.
Right.
So let's get into it. With these winged humanoid sightings, they can be difficult, unfortunately. Not just Owlman, not just Mothman. There is a lot of discourse amongst people when it comes to these winged humanoids. And when you're somebody like Tobias or myself, and you start talking about a winged humanoid that's not the 66 to 67 Mothman of Point Pleasant, people already question anything that you say. So we have to be kind of extra careful when we talk about these things, and kind of make sure that our information is rock solid, especially when we go on the record to talk about these things. And that is hard to do because the last time I checked, we're both American. So we can't actually go and investigate this personally face to face. And I've never had an Owlman witness. And when I say that, I mean anybody from the UK reporting a winged humanoid. Tobias, have you?
Oh boy, UK winged humanoid? No. I have received sighting reports from the UK, but only like UFO and kind of Bigfoot stuff. No winged humanoids.
Yeah, no winged humanoid. So it kind of becomes, like I said, difficult to, really try to dig into this stuff. A lot of people kind of ship the Cornish Owlman with the Blackbird of Chernobyl. I don't really see where we would talk about this any other time. We're definitely not ever going to do a full episode on that. But Tobias, do you want to go ahead and explain why the Blackbird of Chernobyl is bullshit to people?
Yeah, it's super fake. So the Blackbird of Chernobyl only dates back to sometime in the aughts. Now, of course, Chernobyl, that particular nuclear disaster, took place in the 1980s, but you won't find any reports of any like large blackbird or winged humanoid sightings prior to or even after that event. And do you want to know why? Because it was made up for the Mothman Prophecies movie. Now, I have interviewed Richard Hatem myself, who is the screenwriter for that project. Great dude. Love the guy. I really do. He's a fantastic human being. And he 100% made that up for the movie. Now, if you remember in the Mothman Prophecies movie, there is a portion of it where one of the characters is talking about prior disasters that the Mothman has been associated with, because one of the themes of the movie was the Mothman as this harbinger of disaster. And so this character rattled off a couple of disasters. I think they mentioned like the hurricane in Galveston, Texas, and Chernobyl specifically. And after the movie came out in the early 2000s, is when you started to see reports of this thing beginning to circulate on the internet. So this is a very early internet legend based on something invented for the Mothman Prophecies movie. It's not fucking real. And to further that point even more, you don't even have to take my word for it. Now, there are actual anthropologists even who are interested in things like folklore. They can't find reports of this thing before this fucking movie came out. They can't find anybody who has seen it before the internet. Nobody, to my knowledge, has been able to find a direct witness. There are no direct eyewitnesses. Everything about it screams internet legend. And so that's why, because it's just not real. It's just not real. And when you hear about it, you should tell anybody who's telling you about it that it's not real. And if that makes them feel bad, then good. They should feel a little bad because it's not fucking real. So stop talking about it. It's fake.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because it's on the internet somewhere doesn't mean it's real. I think we should know that by now, you know. But again, there was nowhere else to really talk about that, so there you go. Yeah, that shit didn't happen. And I think like the people that allegedly report, as the legend goes, the people that reported seeing this thing were like workers at the, you know, Chernobyl nuclear plant. You know, the workers that died, that weren't alive to tell people about what they had seen. Anyway, I'm just saying, it really is very stupid and it falls apart at the very beginning. The
Right.
Cornish Owlman, like I said, is a lot of times kind of shipped into that, and there's a very specific reason for it. So, the Cornish Owlman, the general legend goes, it's seen in Cornwall in the UK, hovering above the tower at St. Mawnan. I keep wanting to say Mawnan and St. Stephen's Church. Jesus, that was tough to say. However, the initial reports of this creature come from a guy known as Tony Doc Shields. Doc Shields, is that how you say his name? Shields? That's how I'm saying it.
I think it is Shields, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing. It's Shield,
Sure.
but with an S instead of a D. We can't talk about this without talking about Doc Shields, okay? So, let me tell you about him. Doc Shields is a very interesting character, and very much a character he is. He is a magician, a performance artist, first and foremost, has proudly gone on the record saying that he is a magician first and foremost. Some headlines that you'll find that talk about Mr. Tony, talk about him being a self-proclaimed wizard. So, if that's not cringy enough for you, during the time that these reports allegedly started to happen and appear and were reported to Doc Shields, he was doing something interesting, kind of a bit. He was claiming to raise monsters. So he would get a bunch of really hot ladies together and they would meet up in a group somewhere and they would pretend to do incantations and magic, and they would summon monsters to them. You might know Doc Shields from a very popular hoaxed Nessie photograph. I think people refer to it as the puppet. Just Google Doc Shields Nessie and you'll find the photo. Because one time he was at Loch Ness where he summoned Nessie and took that photo, and it is very, very real, except for a couple of years later it had actually come out. There was a voice recording of Doc Shields planning this event to another person, talking about how he was proudly going to trick the townsfolk into believing that he did actually summon Nessie.
What?
I know, right? Unbelievable. The magician, the wizard.
I'll never trust another wizard. Unbelievable.
He's giving wizards a bad name.
He is. As a representative of the local wizards union, I have to say, we do not support this kind of behavior. All right. Unbelievable.
You don't claim him. There's so much that we could go into with this guy and just all of his shenanigans. Summoning sea monsters was kind of more, that was like his main go-to. And I think it's because, like, in the middle of them, kind of doing this act, they could point at like a piece of driftwood and be like, see, there it is. It was kind of easier to fake, but at times that the monster didn't appear, everybody then would suddenly become very sick. And by everybody, I mean everybody in his paid for group that he had with him. And he would blame it on some type of psychic sickness. So
yes, psychic backlash. You got to watch out for that when trying to summon monsters.
It's very real, according to Doc Shields. So we're already not off to a good start, but I promise there is a light at the end of the Owlman tunnel. So let's go ahead and get into the alleged sighting reports, shall we?
Sure.
So, April 17th, 1976, family was out on holiday in the area. Apparently, this is a really popular place to set up camp. I don't know if it still is or not, but it certainly was at the time, at least according to Doc Shields, because his contactees, I suppose, reported camping of some sort. We had two girls, June and Vicky Melling, there with their father, Don Melling. And while they were taking a walk, they had come up upon the church and had spotted a, quote, feathered bird man circling the tower in that area. Of course, this terrified them. They immediately ran back to their father, Don, who right away cut the holiday short, packed the family up, and left. But before he did, Don provided a sketch of what this alleged owlman looked like to Doc. And that's the first sighting.
Yes, that was really helpful of him.
So nice of him to draw up that picture. That was really helpful. It's interesting because it would later look like other drawings that these witnesses of Doc Shields produces. It's almost uncanny how similar all of these eyewitness drawings look. You know?
What?
The skill
What are you
level.
trying to say?
I'm just saying that they all obviously took the same art class. Okay, that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
So, nothing really happens for a while, and then July 3rd, 1976 comes along. Two 14-year-old girls, which is weird. It always happens to be young girls, but I'm just throwing that out there. It doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying. Sally Chapman and Barbara Perry were also camping in the area. Sally was outside of her tent when she heard a strange hissing sound. And when she turned to the sound, she saw a figure that looked like an owl but was as big as a man with pointed ears and red eyes. It flew into the air, revealing two black pincher-like claws, I'm assuming on its feet, but she doesn't specify, but because of the drawing, that's what we're going to say. And then, of course, reported that sighting to Doc Shields and provided a eyewitness drawing alongside Barbara, who provided also an eyewitness drawing of the creature. So that's the second sighting that took place. So Doc would go on to claim a couple more sightings that were a little bit more spread out over the course of the rest of the 70s, basically. And then he kind of moved on and started doing something else. He wasn't raising monsters anymore. He was doing fucking God knows what. Again, if you want to read about it, go read about it. But he had a whole life ahead of him after these events took place. So let's stop for a second. Let's give these sightings a fair shake. Tobias, what do you think about the two most famous reports of the Owlman?
Oh boy. Well, okay. There are some green flags. And those we have actual witness names. The witnesses are likely real people, you know. They gave what I would consider to be fairly standard sorts of reports regarding this kind of phenomenon. Doesn't seem outwardly exceptionally embellished or anything. So there's nothing on the surface. If you were to just take the report, just the reports themselves, right, and separate them completely from Doc Shields, then I would say, okay, these are interesting reports, you know, sure. Because the one big red flag, you know, the enormous red flag eclipsing the sun and obscuring all of the otherwise green flags that we might be seeing in these reports is, of course, his presence. And we have to ask ourselves, well, okay, how much can we trust something that even comes through this guy? You know, because it has been claimed for, well, pretty much the entirety of the time he was ever, sharing anybody's monster sightings, that everybody he knew that ever reported one to him was somebody he already knew, and who was willing to help him hoax things. So, I guess, like I said, we have to ask ourselves, can we get past Doc Shields? Like, are we willing to even entertain these sightings after we know he's involved? And that's the question we have to ask ourselves. And so that's where I'm at with it.
And that is, I mean, you're right. There are some green flags. I agree with you there. But there is that one big red flag that is very hard to ignore, and that's Doc Shields. We were kind of talking about, when we did the Georgia Bigfoot body episode, we were talking about how fucking stupid everybody was to trust Tom Biscardi with anything. And, I think it would be incredulous of us to not do that here with Doc, right? Just if we went based off of those two sightings and the affiliation alone, I think it would be pretty clear, cut and dry that it's bullshit.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
But what if I told you that those weren't the only Owlman sightings, that there have been more that weren't reported to or affiliated at all with Doc Shields?
I would believe you because I am aware of some.
That's fair. So, of course, people are skeptical of that whole shebang. However, we have to consider somebody like Doc Shields, who is very much a public figure at this point. He very much could have received genuine reports of strange happenings, right? Like, that's not, again, just because Tom Biscardi is a con man doesn't mean people don't go to Tom Biscardi for their Bigfoot sightings. It just depends on how you find people to report this kind of stuff to. If he's a public figure and he's out there and he's really putting himself out there, then why wouldn't people that experience weird things go to that guy? Now, it doesn't mean he's incapable of taking advantage of them, right? And embellishing their story or using it for other gain. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen either. And again, without the next two sightings that I'm going to talk about here, I wouldn't have personally ever given the original two sightings, any sort of thought. I would have just written it off as a hoax. So I get the skepticism. I really do. But with that being said, a lot of other people did as well. Jonathan Downs. I'm sure you know Jonathan Downs. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But I believe Jonathan Downs, he runs the Center for Fortean Zoology, I think, or he at least writes for them or something along those lines. I really don't know. Again, I'm not in the UK, so I'm sure he's a good dude, but I don't know him personally. He would show skepticism towards the Shields reports, right? And there's a very good reason for that. He's not stupid. And
right.
He would actually go on to write a book about the Owlman, and other various things. So he definitely wasn't buying it. However, he received a report of somebody else seeing the same creature, which is interesting to me. So we're going to go ahead and get into that report. Let me get it up here. Okay, so this report, this took place in 1989, so about 13 years after the original report had allegedly happened. The person's name given, these aren't real names. He calls him Gavin. Gavin and his girlfriend claimed to see the same creature in the same area. He said, quote, "It was about 5 feet tall. The legs had high ankles and the feet were large and black with 2 huge toes on the visible side. The creature was gray with brown and the eyes definitely glowed." So You know, I didn't find where Jonathan Downs has said when he received that report. It's very likely that this is somebody who read those original reports and just kind of jumped on board with it and ran with it. Or it's very likely that this is just somebody completely unrelated who happened to see the same thing. I don't know.
It could go either way. You know, like the issue is, I think, that beyond the original sort of Doc Shields reports, what you've got are just a couple of anonymous sightings. So you have that 1989 one. You've got a 1995 one that was sent into the Western Morning News. And I mean, it basically describes seeing a monstrous birdman thing about the size of a man with a ghastly face, a wide mouth, glowing eyes, and pointed ears. It had huge clawed wings and was covered in feathers of silver gray color. The thing had long bird legs, which terminated in large black claws. Yeah, I mean, it's consistent. But well, kind of, although it does add a bunch of stuff like weird silver gray claws and a wide mouth and things, pointy ears and such. But it's another anonymous report. This is a letter that was sent into a newspaper, right? Like,
yeah,
they're just not credible enough to move the needle. So, like, if you've got major issues with the Doc Shields reports, and you should, because his involvement makes everything about 1,000% less credible, then in order to move that needle, you need something more than anonymous reports. And I'm not saying that these people have to be making this up. They don't. But with the information we have right now, I wouldn't be willing to stake my reputation on it. You know, like, I wouldn't be willing to say, oh, these are very likely credible, serious reports. Boy, we should really be taking these seriously. Why aren't people doing more about that goddamn Cornish Owlman? No, of course not. Like, it's not strong evidence. It just isn't. And, you know, I know that because I know that one because, you know, I took basic logic classes in fucking college. But beyond that, because, like, I've received a lot of these. I've seen a lot of similar reports in my own winged humanoid research right here in the Midwest. And if all I had were the reports like this that were anonymous, never really followed up on, sort of scant on other relevant details that you would want to have so you could confirm, like, sighting report details, then I wouldn't expect anybody to care about it. You know, I just wouldn't, because it wouldn't be that interesting, I think, to any thinking person, like to the discerning Fortean, if you will. But because I have been lucky enough to have met and interacted directly with so many great witnesses who have been so helpful and willing to do everything from send me photographs to meet with me personally, to show me sighting areas, you know, I've got a much greater body of evidence that at least shows real people are really reporting something, you know, that they are taking seriously, that they didn't just make up. We don't have that kind of evidence here. And so I think the only thing that could really move the needle on this is if you're willing to allow it to attach to other winged humanoid sighting reports. That is to say, if you're willing to say, okay, well, yeah, I get it. Like, this stuff isn't super compelling, but is it made more compelling by the fact that there are much more credible cases that have occurred throughout the world? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. But let's not forget that by the time these started being reported in the mid-70s, Mothman was already a thing. And anybody like Doc Shields would have been aware of that. And so it's just as likely that he was aware of this West Virginian Mothman and decided to make up a story similar to that in Cornwall, as these reports are of being reflective of a more objective phenomenon, right? So it's tough. I don't know.
What's interesting about it, when you take these reports and you compare it to Mothman, somebody who knows of it but doesn't know everything about it would certainly take some of those eyewitness reports where I hate to say original Mothman, but let's just call it that for simplicity's sake. They would take the sighting reports where the people were reporting an owl-like creature, but only owl-like creature in the fact that it didn't have a discernible neck. These people weren't really necessarily describing it as a strict bird, and it gets weird because if you go based off of like the headlines and stuff at the time, there are headlines that call it the Birdman, bird-like man, owl creature, things like that. But if you actually go and you look at not the John Keel reports, but you go and you try to look at the original reports from people, that's not what they're describing. That's not what the Scarberry mallet sighting describes at all. Yeah. So it sounds like somebody who, like I said, kind of knows about it and then takes that story and just makes up a whole new fucking sighting with it looked just like an owl creature, because very much like the drawings and the depictions is more like straight up a giant owl rather than a Mothman, in my opinion, just looking at it.
Oh, sure.
But I do agree, because my whole thing.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And your whole thing, too, is that Mothman's not specific to Point Pleasant, right? It's not specific to the Ohio River Valley. It's winged humanoids or something that we've had forever, as far as we know. You know what I mean? Like it's just people call it different things. And having that knowledge means that I can't say that all of the Owlman sightings are complete bullshit. I'm sure people have seen a winged humanoid creature over there, and I'm sure there are plenty that are unreported because it's fucking weird, and it's weird when you experience it. And who do you call? You don't want to call fucking wizard Doc Shields because that guy sucks. I get it.
He's a relatively popular figure among like a certain section of the paranormal community. And some of them are people that I get along with and I do like as people, but it's the I don't fucking care if this is true so long as it's entertaining crowd. And they think that Doc Shields is great because he's really entertaining, because he's a magician and he's a good magician. So it's just one of those things, where he doesn't have the same reputation as, say, like a Jaime Maussan, right? Where all that dude does is fucking hoax shit. All he does is hoax UFOs. Like that's his whole thing. He's constantly just hoaxing or being in on hoaxes for UFOs and alien bodies and everything else. Now, Doc Shields isn't like that. He isn't Jaime Maussan, right? Like he is, he's an entertainer. And so, there are plenty of people who enjoy that. And so you won't always hear his name mentioned with the same, venom that you would a Tom Biscardi or somebody, right? Because they're not precisely the same. I feel like if I got a beer with Doc Shields, I would probably get along with him way more than I would like a Tom Biscardi or somebody who has been just caught outright hoaxing because they're kind of a greedy jerk versus hey, I'm a professional magician and I'm just trying to like re-enchant the world kind of thing. So anyway, that was my big long digression on the difference between Doc Shields and other identified hoaxers in the paranormal and why lots of paranormal enthusiasts still like him anyway. All right. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Have you ever heard of Peter Kane?
Peter Kane? I don't know. Sounds familiar.
Oh my gosh. He's so fucking hilarious. Go look him up on YouTube when you got a free time. No, really. He's great.
Okay.
He's obviously not real stories. He's a character. But he's got allegedly his dad or his grandpa or somebody shot and killed Bigfoot, and so they've kept the Bigfoot body frozen.
Yes.
He's got videos, where he shows the head, the penis.
I've written multiple articles about this guy's claims. Yeah, okay. I knew it sounded familiar. Yep, I know.
It's satire. Yeah, it's not real. But let me tell you something. If you go to his YouTube channel while he's doing a live stream, he will fucking ban you if you try to break him from his bit. Like, he's so committed. It's perfect. It's hilarious. So
nice.
Everybody who hasn't checked that out, check that out. But yeah, there is a very thin line between entertainment and outright hoaxing. And sometimes it's questionable what side of that line that you are on. And,
right.
Maybe we take it too far. Like I said, and I'll say it again, just because it was reported to Doc Shields or through Doc Shields doesn't necessarily mean that these aren't genuine encounters. But this is the show where we tell you that everything's bullshit. So of course I got to tell you that it's completely bullshit.
I like to think this is the show where we are very fair, regardless of what we want to be true.
I think you're right. It's tough. Of course, like, I want these sightings to be real. Like, they validate my research, oh, Mothman's everywhere all the time in all periods and all cultures. But I can't say with any type of confidence that this is that. Whereas I do have other things that I feel like is the same phenomena, but not necessarily by the same moniker. This one's a little weird, and mostly my self-doubt comes from the fact that I've never received a report of this thing from the UK ever. So I don't feel like I have enough to truly speak on it and form any type of real opinion, because I mean, it all seems like bullshit, but there's nothing validating it either. And that was the same type of energy that I came in with with the Lake Michigan Mothman stuff. Now that I know Tobias, and I know Tobias has talked to Lake Michigan Mothman witnesses, great.
I've even got him to go on television.
Yep. And they have, right? And share their stories in their own voice, not through you, not through Lon, on their own accord. I know Tobias doesn't pay people to do that. It's never.
I'd love to have paying people to lie for me money. God, wouldn't that be fucking nice?
Right, exactly. So, you're not doing that. I do still have questions about O'Hare sightings, and I think that's
you and me both, sister.
Right. I think that's reasonable. But the same kind of questions that I have with the Cornish Owlman. It's just, I've never talked to these witnesses, so I can't verify it or not. And I wouldn't be any good at my job if I just said, well, it's, again, somewhere on the internet, someone's talked about it at some point, it's got to be real. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And sometimes I am the person on the internet talking about it, so I get it, but, at the end of the day, I kind of want to get to the bottom of these things. I don't know, Tobias. What do you think about these Owlman sightings? Do you think that there's anything at all there?
Well, I'll tell you, when it comes to the Cornish Owlman, right? The fact is, there just aren't enough of these sightings to provide us, I think, with the amount of data that we're looking for. You know, the only reason that my Midwestern research ever really got off the ground is because we've received so many sighting reports that, some of them were bound to be like actual credible people that we could follow up with and talk to and who'd show us around and stuff. Because like I said earlier, if all we had ended up with was 2 or 3 anonymous sighting reports, it would be a big nothing burger. I wouldn't expect anybody to take it seriously, regardless of the actual like authenticity of the people reporting their sightings. It just isn't enough to make it interesting. So I think that this particular phenomenon, again, specifically this Cornish Owlman, suffers from the relative paucity of sightings. There's only a few. We only have names for a couple of witnesses, and of course, those were the Doc Shields witnesses, which isn't exactly helping. And so, without getting more sighting reports, either directly or at least reported to an actual investigator and not, a stage magician, then we're going to be left with these doubts. Like the one credible thing that could happen, I think, would be for somebody to report one of these sightings to somebody credible and respected in this field who would actually go investigate it. And I'm not trying to talk shit about Doc Shields. He was an entertainer. He wasn't an investigator. I'm sure he was one of those guys who thought that this was all I think he might still be alive. So I'm sure he's one of those guys who thinks that this is all very fun. Is he dead now? Okay.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want now.
Anyway. Okay, great. Well, no, I didn't want to talk about him like he was dead if he wasn't dead, because if he was still alive, he would have to be super old, and then that would just be mean. He's like, oh man, I'm so old, people think I'm fucking dead, and then it hurt his feelings.
And then he dies a week after this episode comes out, and everybody blames you,
right? Of a broken heart because of my mean words. I know, right? I live in constant fear of that. No, but no, I'm sure he's one of those guys who thought that this is all very fun and entertaining, and so yeah, if he even sniffed a fucking crazy story, he was going to want to present it as part of his, traveling freak show of monster summoning oddities or whatever. And so he's just not a credible source. He's not a thorough investigator. You can't really trust that he did any of what we would consider his due diligence in following up on any of these reports, right? And so that's what we need. It doesn't have to be reported to me. It doesn't have to be reported to you. But it does have to be reported to somebody credible who's actually going to do the work and then show their work, and have that available for examination, and if that happens, then yeah, it blows this whole thing wide open. Now, Owlman reports in general, I mean, my tendency is to fold those in with the other Mothman reports that I receive. There are some witnesses, some of whom I've spoken to directly.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Who have reported specifically owl-like qualities when reporting winged humanoid sightings. So that's right here in the Midwest. And so I think that, sure, in terms of Mothman or winged humanoids, yeah, I think Owlman fits in neatly with that, because I've received reports from people who again have described these sort of owl-like qualities, or that's not even the right way to put it. It's more that their interpretation of the qualities that were represented by this being was were as owl-like. You know what I mean? So they saw the thing, and the thing that they could compare it to, or that came to mind, was an owl. Not that there were these specific sort of owl-like qualities necessarily. So, and we get that a lot. Some people will compare what they've seen to a bat or a bird, or the monster from Jeepers Creepers. I've even had people compare it to a character from Underworld. Do you remember those vampire movies?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, like all kinds of stuff like that. Pop culture references, all types of winged animals, gargoyles. And I don't think it's because one person is seeing a gargoyle and another person is seeing an owlman and another person is seeing a Batman and another person is seeing fucking Jeepers Creepers. No, I think that what is happening is you have a bunch of different people with different life experiences and different frames of reference who are all contextualizing the same thing or a very similar thing differently according to their own lived experience. And so, yeah, I think that's what's going on with Owlman. I think that is part of the larger Mothman phenomenon, the winged humanoid phenomenon. And it's just one way that some people will interpret something that they otherwise can't explain.
I agree and disagree with you both. I think people are seeing Batman and Owlman and Gargoyle and Demon, and I think that's, this phenomena is not, it's not a fucking bird, you guys. It's not something that lives here, and I think that whatever it is plays on our perceptions, and that's kind of the interpretation that you get out of it, and sometimes that's why the wings are leathery, and sometimes that's why they're butterfly-like, and sometimes that's why they're feathered, and sometimes it's white and brown and gray and black. Not necessarily because I think there's a variance of species per se. Not to say that every single one is the same guy, right? It's the same fucking guy going around seeing people. I really don't know. But I think all those things can be true about this phenomena, and that's kind of an idiosyncrasy of the phenomena itself, is that it is inconsistent. But consistent enough across the board to put it into the same category, so
that could be part of it. Yeah. Or there could be actual minor variations in appearance. Yeah, right. Exactly. If there's variation within the species, or different related species, who knows? There are lots of options. But
lots of theory.
Yeah,
I can accept any of them because we fucking have no idea.
I don't really know. Exactly.
And that is the reality of it. Right. Some of those sightings did appear more owl-like, and some appeared more man-like, and some appeared more bat-like to the people that were experiencing it. But this one just straight up looks like a man owl rather than just an owl man.
Yeah, true. One other interesting corollary, though, between this Cornish Owlman and other Mothman reports that have been received throughout the U.S. is the appearance of unusual lights. There have been several reports of weird glowing balls of light floating in that area. So reportedly in 1996, a woman saw a ball of light floating above the nearby church there. And in 2003, a couple of teenage girls were listening to music in the parking lot late at night, and they also saw glowing, pulsating globe of light hovering over the church. And these sightings sort of continue, and so there's this connection that has formed then between the Cornish Owlman sightings and, well, very similarly again to our American Mothman here, these glowing balls of light. And so that's interesting to me. And I don't know it, because, let's face it, people see UFOs everywhere. People see weird balls of light everywhere. And I don't know if the connection here arose out of people's knowledge of the Mothman narrative that has been building over the course of 50 years, or if there is something more to it. But it is something people are talking about in coordination with the Cornish Owlman sighting. So, again, like, does that represent an actual similarity? Is that further evidence of its connection to the Mothman phenomenon? Or does all that really show is the pervasiveness of the Mothman narrative that provides the connection between glowing balls of light and winged humanoid sightings?
And if you just expand it out a little bit further, Cornwall is no stranger to the paranormal in general. The UK is not. Like, ghosts are a big fucking thing there. And if you really want to get woo with it, we've definitely talked about speculation about what ghosts could be, right? They might not necessarily be dead people. They might be other things. Again, you could really fall down that rabbit hole, and it doesn't seem to have a good, an end anywhere. Maybe a brick wall at some point, but
right.
If you're lucky. It just depends on how far, you want to go. And, at this point, we don't have enough evidence to definitively tie all these things together, but it's certainly enough to potentially entertain it. So I don't know. I do know that we have some UK listeners. If you guys want to chime in, and get in on this conversation, well, you've got the perfect place to do it. The On Wednesdays We Talk Weird Facebook group. Let us know what the story is. I'd like to know what the general, that's one thing that you can get out of, like, going to Point Pleasant, West Virginia. You can talk to the locals, and you can get that perspective of people who are there, who are living in the area, some people who were there during the time of the sightings. I can't get that in Cornwall because I'm here. So
true.
I want to know what they think about it. I did come across a Reddit story. Again, it's Reddit, so take it however you will, where somebody had reported some very aggressive hooting noises, some very aggressive owl noises, and they had never heard of the Cornish Owlman until they told their parent about it, and their parent had clued them in on the local legend. So, who knows, how accurate that is. But I would be really interested to see, what kind of culture there is, because as much as we're a part of all this community, even here in America, fucking not everybody knows who Mothman is.
Very true. I think more and more people every day are becoming aware of it, but it really is a sort of a fringe of the fringe kind of thing, because being interested in any part of the paranormal is already weird enough, right?
Yeah.
But, Mothman, like, really, like, you are on the fucking edge at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not, we take it for granted, but you're right. It's not that well known outside of certain weird circles.
Yeah. And, I think we forget that. I'd made a post about how I think that, paranormal phenomena in general is a lot rarer than some people in this community would like to believe. Like, even though I think we do have people with a story, on a consistent enough basis. I've met enough people who have never experienced anything at all, ever. I don't think it's as widespread as some people like to believe it is. And again, it's because you guys take in this content all the time. It's because you're actively looking for it. To the average Joe who's not actively looking for it, it may as well not exist at all. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, fair, and of course, I think there are the people who want to interpret every event in their life as being paranormal. And I understand how attractive that can be, but I'm with you. I do think that it is rarer than some people would like to admit.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And again, so part of it is probably a certain bias based on how much of this media they consume. And then another part of it, I think, is the confirmation bias on how much they want to believe that it exists. Not only that it exists, but that it also happens constantly. And that really almost ties into what I was talking about before with the entertainment aspect, where people don't really care if it's true or not, as long as it's entertaining. Well, another part of that is some people don't want to look too deeply into any particular phenomenon because they don't want to run the risk of disproving it, because they really desperately want to live in this magical reality. They want to live this fantasy, and they don't want anything to exist that that deprives them of said fantasy. So I think there's definitely some of that going on as well.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. It's weird to say, but I think that genuine anomalous phenomena is underreported. And I think that reports are often I don't want to say overhyped, but not correct, either because they're straight up bullshit, they're misidentified, or like you said, there's a confirmation bias driving somebody to believe it happens.
Sure.
But I do think genuine anomalous phenomena does happen very rarely.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. I think that it's underreported and overbelieved.
That's a better word. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't even know if overbelieved is a word, but if it's not, we're coining it right here, right now. Trademark on Wednesdays we talk weird. Overbelieved.
Overbelieved. Overbeliever as yourself if you want to be. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with an overbeliever. I get it. It makes the world a little bit better, but from my standpoint, I can't sit with you guys. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. Or again, I'd be bad at my job. Let's talk about what's really important here. We all agree here, I think. If I know you, and I think I do, that the Owlman has a cloaca.
Oh, shit.
He's got to,
I guess.
right?
Well, I don't know. Do birds even have dicks? Some of them do.
Genuinely, I don't know the breeding habits of birds. I don't know how that works.
Well, I don't ducks have weird corkscrew ones?
I have heard that they have weird corkscrew dicks and that they are rapists. Yes, I've heard that about ducks, which that hurts my feelings. I hate that. Why do ducks got to be that way?
Yeah, ducks fucking suck. I don't know. They do suck though. Okay, so I actually just looked it up. So yeah, most birds don't have penises. About 90% of them rely on and I'm not making this up, cloacal kiss for reproduction. So both male and female birds, this is how this works. We're all learning something today for science. So both male and female birds will have a cloaca, which again is a single opening that handles everything from waste to mating. Let's see. So yeah, what they do then is they just kind of, I don't know, smush those together. And then, 9 months later, a baby pops out. I don't know, something similar. But yeah, so like some of them, like ducks and ostriches. See, I knew ducks had weird corkscrew dicks. Do have penises, but most birds don't. It's just cloaca on cloaca action. Yeah.
Well, it says kiss. I mean, I guess right. Imagine your mouth joining another mouth. But instead of your mouth, it's your cloaca.
Yep. Just two cloacas just scissoring or whatever.
I was going to say it's kind of like scissoring.
I think so. I think that's what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Do you think that owlmen also produce pellets? Owlman pellets? And they're just like the bones of humans and like other large mammals.
I think they do produce pellets. I don't think they have the bones of humans in them because, like, are there a bunch of people that are disappearing in Cornwall? Like the last thing that was ever heard was like a sinister hooting, and then people just vanish into the night because I don't think it's out there eating humans.
Well, there aren't a lot of reports, Tobias. So where are the people seeing this thing?
Right. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's that it's murdered every person who's ever seen it.
They're like, well, we found another hairy sack of bones again. We're not really sure why.
Probably nothing. I wouldn't worry about it. Certainly has nothing to do with all the missing people reports we keep getting in the area.
By the way, have you seen my dog?
See, I mean, monsters can kill people like humans all they want, but you kill one fucking dog, and I swear to God, I will lose my mind.
Oh yeah, horror movie rules for sure. You can't go killing dogs.
It's the worst. Like why does Michael Myers feel like he has to kill a dog in every fucking movie to prove how badass he is? Like, dude, you've murdered dozens of people. We get that you're dangerous. Stop killing dogs.
Well, I think he just likes the way they taste.
He's the worst.
Like he prefers dog meat, which is gross, but that's what he does. He eats
dog meat. I hate that. It's so much worse. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it would have to produce pellets. I mean, well, okay, hold on now though. Is it a biological species, like in the way that we would recognize that? Because if it's a weird projection or shape-shifting energy being or whatever the fuck, then it probably doesn't really eat or produce waste in a way that we would recognize. There are even people who would posit that, if Mothman, for instance, represents such a being, that it might consume fear. It might feed off of fear. Like there's some sort of emotional resonance or energy that it enjoys, like it wants for some reason, and that's why it's scaring the shit out of people all the time. And so at that point, I don't think you get pellets from that. I'm just saying. So I don't know. It's another mystery.
Okay. So it consumes your fear, right? Your energy source. It drains you of it's an energy vampire, and then regurgitates the parts that it doesn't want, and that's where star jelly comes from.
Oh, I mean, it could just be excess cloacal fluids.
Oh,
yeah. We talked about this. You can't just be handling star jelly. That's how people get pregnant.
Yeah, it is. You gotta always wear protection when you're handling star jelly because will just seep right into your skin. It's very potent stuff. Very powerful.
Yeah, it doesn't. Absolutely. It doesn't care about whether or not you think it should even be possible for you to get pregnant. You're getting pregnant.
That's how Jesus was born.
I mean, maybe.
I don't even know if we can put this episode out there as nonfiction at this point.
I don't know. I mean, it's so close to Easter where we talk about Jesus getting born from star fucking jelly.
It is close to Easter. Yeah, see, it's divinely guided. It's a divinely guided episode, everybody. We're experiencing anomalous phenomena in real time.
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Jesus. I mean, let's face it. Neither one of them listens to the show. It's fine.
I hope your mom doesn't. I'd feel so terrible.
She better not. I would be devastated.
Tobias's mom, she's great, everybody.
Yeah, she is, and she doesn't need to hear this shit.
No, she doesn't. Anyway, so cloaca. We're agreeing to cloaca. I mean, of course, right? That's what Google says. Yeah. If it's an owl, yeah, absolutely. And Owlman pellets of some form, I'm sure.
Sure. Maybe star jelly, maybe traditional pellets. Who knows?
Who knows? Let us know if you find one so we can crack it open and study it. Let's check it out. A fucking 6-foot owl pellet. That'd be cool. It'd be like we're in elementary school again, That'd be pretty sweet. Make a little skeleton out of the bones. Anyway, do you have any final words?
Bones, I guess.
Poop bones, right? It's not poop bones. It's vomit bones, technically.
Oh, I guess. Well, whatever. Okay. Either way, it's gross, and I'm not handling it. Okay. Final words on Cornish Owlman. I feel like I might be repeating myself a little bit here, but so many of these episodes have a sort of base truth to their relations with each other, right? That I think it's okay to reemphasize some things that maybe I've talked about before. And so I really think that, if there's anything I want people to take away from this, it's that it's okay to be in that liminal space between belief and disbelief. And I think that is where the Cornish Owlman sightings live, at least for me. I think that I don't know if they are true or not. And at this point, I am unlikely to ever find out for sure. And so what I'm willing to do and what I'm going to do is entertain them without belief. So I'll allow for the possibility of a Cornish Owlman, but to say that I definitively find this evidence compelling and indicative of even necessarily authentic sighting reports, no, not necessarily. So that's what we're left with, and again, we have to be okay with that. It doesn't have to be true or not true. It doesn't have to be, I believe or disbelieve in this. Sometimes it's okay to just say, oh, maybe. And that's where the Cornish Owlman is. It's maybe. That's all I got.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I would certainly entertain any winged humanoid sightings because I think they're entertaining. I like them. They scratch my itch. And if they happen to have taken place in Cornwall in the UK, that would not only be entertaining to me, but it would also tickle my fancy. I'd be like, oh, I've heard of that before, But I agree with you. I can't put it anywhere definitively. I mean, if we go based off of Doc Shields and, him being a walking red flag, sure, absolutely. I guess then that can be your personal deciding factor. It's not mine. And I know that might seem strange to people, and it probably is because I'm a little bit biased because I just want these to be real. Just going to say that. Just going to be honest with y'all. That's what I think. So, yeah, I think we're done here. Again, if you guys want to discuss this further, go join the Facebook group. It's brand new. We need you guys in there. We need you to participate. And with that being said, we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.